can't do the things I used to do anymore.
Oh, what's going on, big guy?
Ever since I started working with you on masking less, it just feels like I'm not good at anything anymore.
Ah, yeah, that's skill regression.
Why does it happen?
Because you stopped masking.
I haven't stopped masking. I'm just doing it less.
Potato.
I'm gonna leave if you're not gonna help.
Getting real sassy lately.
Potato. You mask because you've been taught it's your responsibility to manage other people's emotions, meet people on their level. And now you're trying to find a balance. You're focusing more on taking care of yourself. But shouldn't that give me more energy to do the things I love? Okay, let's take a step back. Like, when you say that you're not good at anything anymore, what do you mean? Anything? Do you have examples? Cooking. I used to be an amazing cook. Like, I loved making, restaurant quality meals for people.
And now you can't?
It's not so much that I can't. It's unpredictable. Like, sometimes my food still turns out great. Sometimes it's shit. And sometimes I'm just like, I'm not cooking.
Why do you think that is?
Fuck's sake. Enough with the riddles. Some people think that by unmasking, the behaviors that you're getting rid of overlap with some of the skills that you're losing.
But you don't think that?
I do. It's just that, to me, I think the more immediate cause is you're listening to your body. If I'm taking care of myself, why do I have less energy? Do you remember when you were concerned because things that didn't bother you before the diagnosis were bothering you now?
It's always bothered me. It's just that I'm not ignoring them now.
But I enjoy cooking. Always? There's nothing that I enjoy always. Do you ever cook fancy meals for yourself?
Rarely.
You do it to give people an enjoyable experience.
Oh. That was the motivation to ignore being tired.
Yeah.
I even asked myself a couple years ago if it was better to cook people a good meal or be in a good mood when they came over.
You're just listening to your body when it's telling you you're tired. Wait, but what about my hobbies? Like, I used to throw the TV on and I could spend 3, 4, 5 hours sculpting or painting something really intricate.
It's one of the ways you self-regulate.
Exactly. And now that I've lost that, I don't know what to do.
Maybe you didn't lose it.
Yes, Dave, I did. That's what I'm telling you.
No, Jesus.
Maybe you don't need to self-regulate as much because you're not killing yourself masking. But I get so bored now, and if I'm working on finding healthier ways to be around other people, I would think that I would at least want to fill some of that boredom with social things. Would boredom make you want to hang out with an 800-pound gorilla?
Yeah, maybe.
My point is that you have felt unsafe around most humans for your whole life. It's perfectly natural that humans would still be a trigger. Wow. Every time I'm about to leave, you pull me back in. Do we want to work through that a bit?
Yeah,
I think so. Oh, sorry. Session's over. Please leave. Bye. I think I figured out autism.
What?
Or at least my autism. And I'm curious how it fits into the bigger autistic holistic picture.
Nope. I don't want to be a part of this one.
Almost everything I've been told is part of my autism I can trace back to my very active mind and how I'm treated by society.
Nope, not doing this.
I've only got 3 minutes, so this is going to be really fast and really high level. A lot of my autism-ness are just symptoms that manifest from those 2 causes, which start to compound and essentially lead to extreme mental exhaustion. And you've seen these brain scans, right? Where holistics kind of have a clear-ish pathway and autistic brains just kind of fire everywhere.
Sure.
My brain brings up so much information at once that it has bandwidth issues. And by itself, it's not necessarily a big deal, but it results in other behaviors and symptoms that compound.
Like what?
Like, I recognize the effects of a decision don't exist in a vacuum, so I need a lot more information for decisions that holistics would usually consider simple. I'm also very aware of things that I don't know, like other people's perspectives, so I struggle with things like intuitively prioritizing data points.
But what about the things you're bad at? Like reading body language?
I actually have to explain to holistics a lot of the time what they have missed. Nonverbal communication is just another data point that I'm processing consciously. I'm not natively bad at it, but when I have bandwidth issues, then I might start missing things or not processing it the right way.
Socializing in general really wears you out.
Yes, because humans are highly variable. And think about this, the average adult brain uses about 20% of your energy. My point being, it's not an insignificant amount. So as I'm trying to churn through more data,
You're getting more worn down.
and now add other aspects of socializing, like behaving in ways that aren't native to me,
Can you stop masking?
I haven't figured out how. In fact, when I start getting less energy and I have trouble masking, I start getting more anxiety around things like whether or not I've accidentally hurt someone, or being passed up for not behaving professionally, and I internalize it because a lot of people dismiss it. It's a loop.
It just snowballs.
Yup. And as one of my holistic characters, what happens to you when you start to get really worn thin? I guess I get more tired and more irritable, and you're more sensitive to things like smells or noises, things you would normally let go.
Oh, yeah.
So your argument is essentially your very active brain and resulting habits use more bandwidth, take more energy. Society compounds that and pushes you to a point where you start to experience what we have assigned to autism, things like overstimulation and burnout. And do you see why repetitive tasks are so comforting to someone whose brain reacts so much to novelty? Why I would need more alone time to decompress, or a few seemingly small things can take me from fine to overwhelmed. How comforting predictability can be, or adversely, how devastating interruptions can be. How do you think this relates to level 2, level 3 autism? I don't know. Researchers haven't gotten my experience right, so I can't really trust what I read about autism. And that's why every day, as I'm posting about my experiences being autistic and receive countless comments from people saying how validating my content is, I am terrified that someday I'm going to find out I'm not actually autistic. I can see that you're getting flooded right now. Flooded. What does flooded mean? You have a lot of big emotions going on and you're struggling to keep control. What? No. What you're seeing is me dropping my mask. Getting more agitated isn't going to help. Why don't we take a break? Oh, hold up. First off, again, what you're seeing is not agitation. And second, your plan to soothe an autistic person whom you think is getting agitated is to pull them away from the thing that they're starting to hyper-focus on. That's not what this is. That's exactly what this is. I understand there are times that people need to take breaks, but I assure you this is not me unable to handle my emotions. I have been at this point with other autistic clients, and they end up lashing out. Were you also ignoring them? I always encourage breaks when people's emotions are starting to run the show. Okay, so I am starting to get agitated now because you seem to think that you understand what's going on in my mind better than me. Sometimes it's hard to see what's going on inside ourselves. Sure, it would be very pompous of me to think that I am 100% in tune with what's going on in my head. So we'll take a break then. Just like it would be very pompous of you to infantilize a patient simply because they're autistic. I'm not thinking of you as a child. You refuse to acknowledge me explaining what's going on with me, and the mistake that you're making is that when a neurotypical person starts to raise their voice or show cold body language, that's usually a sign of aggression or agitation. Whereas I, being autistic, am consciously controlling my voice and my body language to make you more comfortable. And there are times that I have to turn those things off because I'm diverting energy away from those towards listening and thinking and double checking myself to make sure that I'm not responding out of emotion. Are we ready for a break? It's like how your body decides where to send blood when you're really cold. Your nose will freeze and fall off before your eyes because your body is diverting resources when you're in a hostile environment. I'm not being hostile, but that is what I am sensing from you. And wouldn't you agree that that is typically a sign of anger? Yes, of course, but just because you're calm and your appearance is nice doesn't mean that you're not being hostile. You disregarding everything I'm saying is a form of hostility. So now I am getting angry. Kind of proving my point. It doesn't even feel like you're trying. I just need you to be supportive. I'm sorry, I'm really trying. I just need you to tell me what that looks like for you. So on top of dealing with the death of a friend, you want me to tell you how to support me. I understand that that probably feels like an extra burden right now, and that's the last thing that I want to do to you, but support for me clearly looks different than for you, and I'm not hitting the mark. So do you want some space to self-regulate? No. If I tell you what to do, it's not genuine. What's the point? Why can't it be genuine? Just because it's not how I naturally communicate empathy doesn't mean that my desire is any less. I thought the reason you were talking about your regrets was because you were trying to work through them and see how they were illogical, but that's something that I would want and not you. My desire is still there, it's just that I need to learn the skills. I can't deal with this on top of Mark's accident. I'm sorry, maybe we should have had these conversations before, but we didn't, and it breaks my heart that you're going through this, and I know that there's nothing I can do to make it completely better, but if there's something I can do to make it a little bit better or make sure that you don't feel alone, I want to do that. So I will keep trying to be supportive, but my understanding of support is through my brain, and I'm just worried that I'm just gonna keep making it worse. But do you want some earplugs? Why would I want earplugs? I just want you to be supportive. Oh, so you're apexual. I'm not even sure. Sometimes I think it's more like an autism thing, like overstimulation. Well, are you attracted to people? Sometimes, I guess. You seem unsure. When I see my wife, I just think about her sitting on my... No. I get what you're saying. Like, there are also times you look at your wife and you don't think about... Sure. I mean, last week we were at a funeral. We have moods, and there's certainly times that I'm distracted by things like odors. Oh, don't be one of those. No. I love a good sit. For me, it's breath. It's always breath. Yeah, I'm incredibly aware of my breath, and when I get close to other people, I smell theirs. Oh, come on, just chew some gum, man. Gum covers your breath, but sometimes, leave saliva behind, and usually I'm fine, but sometimes it's really distracting, and then I feel bad. Good God, just go to the dentist. I have. It's not a bad breath thing. Yeah, I am really sensitive to smells. Like, you've got a weird odor coming from your air conditioning. What? Yeah. So you two don't have pecs. I love pecs, but I also understand the overstimulation thing. Like, if I've had a rough day or I'm at someone else's place, I don't know, sometimes it feels like I'm just trying to get through it. And then I feel really guilty for feeling that in the moment, and it just makes it worse. Yep. So, like, all the time? For me? Actually, yeah. It's kind of like when you give your partner a back rub. Like, I love making my partner feel good, but it's more of a task for me. I don't like being touched and hair on my face and the temperature. So it sounds more like an autism thing than being apexual. But I don't even really do it on my own. That's where you and I would differ. Okay, well, like, when you see someone naked, like, what do you feel? I don't know. That one I'm a little confused on. So, corn. Like, I don't really look that often, but when I do, I think it might be more of a curiosity thing. Oh, I mean, that I understand. I kind of want to see everyone naked. Everyone? Adults. But yeah, I mean, the human body is fascinating. Do you ever, like, think someone is, like, aesthetically attractive, but not pexually? Yeah. Maybe that's what it is with corn, so you might be apexual. But what if it's Pavlovian? Like, I've just associated overstimulation with anything pexual. Maybe it's just open-ended. What do you mean? Understanding your past is a great way to figure yourself out, and it sounds like you have a lower than average PEX drive, which may be inherent or conditioned. And all that's fine if you're happy, but maybe you should be figuring out where you're unsatisfied pexually and exploring that with genuine curiosity. I like that. But how do I know if it's something that I want that I'm not getting, or if it's something that I want because I know my partner's unsatisfied? This would have ended so much more beautifully if we just shut the camera off when he got done. Sometimes I'm afraid that I'm faking my autism. It's interesting. Explain. I always try to understand why I do things, and I can just really easily see how I learned a lot of this stuff from my parents. I see it in my siblings too. Like, is it possible to have a childhood that manifests in autism-like mannerisms? I suppose, but what's more likely? You were conditioned to appear autistic, or you were raised in an undiagnosed house. Wow. Where are your pants? No one wears pants anymore. Okay. I still feel like I might be faking it though. Why? I didn't used to need to take breaks. I didn't get overstimulated. I was a lot more socially active. I don't know, I just felt like I was more resilient, maybe. It kind of feels like I'm just making these things up in my head. The overstimulation. What causes it? Oh, wow. Kids crying, people showing up unexpectedly, not knowing what the plan is, making progress towards a goal, and then that being taken away from me, clapping, feeling constricted. All right, noises, touch, sensory issues, social triggers. Yeah, categories. Well, how did you handle it before? I just kind of held it together like I was supposed to. How well did that work? Most of the time it was fine. I was thriving. I did have some anger issues, though. I punched a lot of walls in college. Okay. What about social interactions? Oh, I used to drink a lot. Enough to take the edge off. And then some. I blacked out a lot before 24. What happened at 24? I was at Roscoe's in Chicago, and I got bought a lot of drinks, and I started to black out. And I woke up the next morning, and I found out I punched a wall, and I called my wife the C word. And I didn't ever want to do that to her again. So you changed for your wife at first, and then it was about the kids, and then, like, in a weird way, I realized that if I wanted to take care of them, I needed to take care of myself, and it kind of also became about me. And what does that look like? I've really worked on recognizing what's happening inside of me, and I take breaks when I need to, and it's hard to put into words. It's a lot of emotional work. Oh shit. I'm just feeling the emotions that have always been there. Actually, really quick, I have been meaning to tell you something. Sure. It's really not a big deal, but I like to tell you stuff just in case it's relevant in the future. And sometimes I think I see an animal or something out of the corner of my eye, and then I realize there's nothing actually there. How long has this been happening? It's been a couple years now. It usually happens once or twice a week, like when I'm tired. Do you react to these things? Sometimes I get a little startled, but pretty quickly I realize it's just like a shadow or something. Let's keep an eye on this. This is concerning. I don't really think it's a big deal. I've read it can be a response to stress, and you know I'm like overly aware of things, so I bring you stuff when they're not problems just in case in the future. Hallucinating of any kind is something that we need to take seriously. No, I'm not actually seeing things. I think it's just like overactive pattern recognition software, but there's nothing that like I'm seeing. Sure. Seeing things that aren't there is hallucinating. I think you're misunderstanding. You're seeing something out of your peripherals that's not there. What am I missing? I think I see something. Like I move and my reflection changes, which I see out of the corner of my eye, and my brain is like, hey, is that danger? And I look. Are you having any other sort of hallucinations? What? You know what? I shouldn't have said anything at all. Like auditory. Are you hearing things? No, I'm not even seeing things. Well, now it sounds like you're hiding things from me. This wasn't supposed to be a big deal. I'm not making it a big deal. I'm just saying we need to keep an eye on it. Putting things in my file that I'm not saying is a big deal. What would you like me to put in your file? Just say Chris occasionally gets startled by shadows. There's no hallucinating. He's just keeping his doctor in the loop in case it's relevant in the future. Okay. Your file has been updated. Is your pattern recognition software picking up on anything else? No. Chris. Sometimes we leave music on in the house and I'm somewhere else where I can barely hear it. I'm talking like you're wondering, is there something playing or not? And as I'm trying to figure out what it is, sometimes my brain will say, I think it's people talking. So, these voices, are they telling you to harm people? God damn. Do you want to know what it feels like to start getting overstimulated? We all have triggers that are taxing. And it can be anything from social interactions to getting bogged down in extra details, or more commonly thought of as sensory issues. Like, I struggle with being touched or sound. And the longer I spend fighting to keep it together and not getting a break from the stimulus, the more taxing and irritating it becomes. And I usually get to a point where I want to start lashing out. Or more likely, I start to shut down because I'm using everything inside of me to hold it together. It's incredibly irritating when people tell us that we just didn't learn how to handle stress. Alright guys, I tried a new brine this year, and I'm going to sous vide the turkey. Wow! We've got 7 casseroles. I did the classics, and then I did some like molecular gastronomy stuff. How long did this all take? Just like a couple of days, but it's going to be worth it. Hungry! What'd you make this year? Pizza. Okay. So like a experimental Thanksgiving pizza? It's a little burned. Do you want to know what it feels like to have ADHD? I am almost perpetually in a state of thinking, yeah, I have enough time to do that really quick, while consistently losing track of time. Because I am hyper aware of time when my brain is not active, and it is excruciating. I need to keep my brain busy, which for me looks like compulsive productivity. If I'm waiting for people to get ready, I start getting very agitated, because again, I am hyper focused on the time. If you have a hard time understanding that, maybe think the last time you did wall squats. So my mind says, well, you need to put another layer of stain on the shelves downstairs. So why don't you do that really quick? And then we can all be done at the same time. Except I forget about things like rinsing and drying out the brush. So I end up making people wait. Or if I'm somewhere I can't physically be productive, like a classroom or a conversation, if I don't think I'm going to be called on for a bit, or I know the next 3 or 4 sentences coming out of the person's mouth I'm talking to, then I can mentally workshop how to align the drawers and the desk that I'm building, or what different colors may look like if I decide to paint the kitchen. And I can pop right back into that conversation with plenty of time to say what I need to. But I don't, because I'm bad at reading social cues, and my brain responds to stimulus. So I don't jump back in until the exact moment it's my turn to speak. I become Alan Turing, do some quick calculations, say what I need to say. But it's too late, because there's a pause, up on that and they see you're distracted. Be more interesting, Brenda. It's not my fault that wondering what animals besides koalas have 2 penises is more interesting than hearing about how Rachel forgot a gift for your kid's christening. Yeah, but what about self-control? This sounds like an excuse. It's a compulsion. I can fight it, but it's exhausting. And that's exactly why medication helps, because it gives me the energy to continue to fight it. But again, for the neurotypicals out there, think about last spring when you were surviving on mainly chicken and broccoli and you knew you shouldn't be eating the Swiss rolls because you were saving them for the kids for Easter. So yes, you can fight it, but imagine those Swiss rolls popping up hundreds of times a day, and the alternative is wall squats. Sometimes you just have to put on a face. No, I'm not going to be fake. It's not fake, it's catering to people. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. I really don't think it is. I can't do it. It's just a work dinner. It might be good for you. I will not spend another 2 hours of my life finding creative ways to help Jerry explain sports to me just to keep the conversation going. What's happening?
Bad bitch, I could be a fantasy.
He calls it fuck it mode.
But I might let you try it out the Hennessy.
Fuck it mode? Every so often he just gets tired of the consequences, so he turns that part of his brain off. Sounds awesome.
Not a side or a main, I'm the only bitch he in it.
One time he started picking at the wallpaper in the bathroom, and before he was done he had ripped out the sink and the toilet. It sounds more like we should be concerned. No. Let him do a thing. That's just when he makes big shit happen. It's not gonna hurt himself, is he?
Honest, lingerie, Dolce.
Never. His reactions are heightened. Adrenaline? Mm-hmm. I have heard when he gets like this,
I could be a fantasy.
his skin actually tenses up all over. And so, he gets like this callus-like thickness all over his body. He's actually, wait a minute. Is he manic right now? No. Manic is a much more driven state. This is more like he's letting his attention dysregulation take him for a ride. It's much more whimsical. Is it? Or are we just romanticizing it? I'm just telling you what he tells me it feels like. Oh yeah, got the big dick energy. I can see you handle me. It is Autism Awareness Month, and I want to spend the month helping people understand some things about autism. So today I want to start by talking about masking and just why it is we feel like we need to change our behavior. What are you doing? Yeah, I was just talking about how big of a toll masking takes on autistic people. Oh my god, everyone changes the way they act in public. Stop acting like it's such a hard thing to do. Sure they do, yeah. Come on, it's time for dinner. Okay, thanks. And don't do any of that weird sitting shit you're doing. We have company tonight. So tomorrow I'll be talking about masking. I can't say that. That's offensive. Isn't that your whole thing, though? Like, you're autistic? What is that supposed to mean? You guys say offensive shit all the time. That's not really how that works. Yeah, it is. You don't know when you're being mean. It's like a massive oversimplification. Just disregards that people have self-awareness at all. Why is that in, like, every movie, then? Because it's entertaining. So you're telling me that there's no truth to autistic people being offensive? No, I'm saying that's a stereotype based on the same poor understanding that surrounds autism in general. Everyone can be offensive. Not me. If you don't personally think that something is offensive, don't you think there's a higher chance that you might say that thing around someone who does find it offensive, thinking that it's completely innocent? Sure, but that's the thing, is normal people understand when they're being offensive. You guys don't. It's time to pay for a real therapist. Your bowl's looking good. It's a water buffalo. Well, it was. I don't know what it is now. Hey, I've been feeling a little distant. Would you want to go out to dinner tonight or something? Yeah, sure. You ready? Oh, I need a shower. It's like 7:30 already. Can you shower after? I haven't showered since Friday. 2 days isn't that bad. Yeah. Last Friday. Chris? Oh, right. I am ready. Do you know where my keys are? Did you look in the key hooks? Yeah, they're not found them. Where were they? One hook to the left, where you usually put them. Thank you. Do you need to put your brushes away? Oh, crap. Yeah, give me a minute. Since it's not a water buffalo, do you know what you're going to call it for the show? I'm not doing the show. What? Why? The paperwork. Did you forget to do it? No, I just hated so much I never did it. What if it's not autism, but the report? You exhibit signs of autism. Yes, I know, but what if it's like a trauma response from my childhood? Maybe. What if being overly sheltered as a child stunted like a critical period in my development when I was supposed to learn social skills? Maybe. What if I'm just trying to do too many things at once, which is like push me to an elongated state of extreme burnout? Maybe. What if I'm just running on like below optimal caloric intake and I'm exhausted all the time? No, I think you're eating enough. Nutrition then. Maybe. Or what if like me getting out of my fundamentalist upbringing taught me to question everything instead of my brain just naturally doing things bottom up? But you exhibit signs. Yes, I know, but there are like a million explanations for why my brain thinks the way that it does. Do you guys not focus on anything besides what you can see? No, because the report. Do you want to know what task inertia feels like? This is a semi-common problem for neurodiverse people. Do you remember when you were 16 and you couldn't just leave the house at any point during the night to go grab a Totino's and a gallon of Great Value ice cream? So when you spent the night at your buddy Dana's house and you snuck out, you pushed the car for a few blocks because you didn't want their parents to wake up to the sound of a '93 Ford Taurus starting. You may not remember this part, but Dana was a little bit of a dick. You would push the car while they sat up front and steered. That feeling of pushing the car with all your might, and it starts off just ungodly slow. And after you get it up to a good speed, you're feeling like a linebacker because suddenly it's not that hard to push this 3,000 chunk of tetanus. That's inertia. It's an object's resistance to a change in movement. As you get that car up to speed,